We're good? Are we recording?
We are recording into an ER301 this time.
That's very exciting. We've talked about the 301 at length in the past.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing it in action.
It's recording right to a mini SD card or micro or whatever the hell. Looks like it's doing a good job. We only have 6 hours and 11 minutes of time, so we got to be quick. So, when was our last time we recorded? Was January? Did we do one this year?
We put something out in January, but I think the recording was... Oh, it might have been in January. I don't either. Time is an illusion.
It's a flat circle.
You gotta watch.
I just did, so it's like fresh in my brain. So good. I think it was following. I don't know. I don't remember. It was our Sweet 16 episode. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
I can look it up. If only we had a device connected to the World Wide Web.
Yeah, those are hard to
information superhighway.
I see you've gone back to the quad LFO on your ornament and crime.
Yep. Yeah, I was super into sequence after you got me into it just in that one day, and then this guy upset it. And also I had to take my MFB dual LFO out, which I didn't want to take it out.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, so this is
one.
doing LFO duty right now because I can't give up the ONC.
I had a question about that.
Yeah.
Does Ornaments of Crime, like basic firmware, does it include burst generator? Because I saw that the temps util does.
Yeah, the temps utils does. Well,
which is different hardware.
Yeah,
so you can't run that on
okay.
those.
Gotcha.
It just says
Wish you could.
I was thinking about getting one of those.
I've always wanted to get one. It looks like a nice clocking and weird gate trigger device for sure.
But like, there's no demos out there, you know? And I'm like curious how it works. Like, it looks great on paper, but I'd like to see like every mode in detail, how it can be modulated and how effective it is. Because burst generation is a little weird. You know what I mean? It gets a little wonky there, and I want it to be tight. If it's sloppy, I have no need for it. But
how's that 2 HP burst? I saw you just got that.
It's, for the price and size, it's a nice utility, but it's a little sloppy as well.
So when you're saying sloppy, what precisely do you mean by that?
Like, I want to dial in specific, intervals with the bursts and modulate it very tightly, and it's got to be tight with the rest of the beat. And sometimes it feels like it's a little drifty, like it's not locked in as tight as it could be, and that's the problem with like gate generation. Like it can't go forward in time. You know what I mean? So like it's going to be a little offset. I figured temps util, it's all digital, it might be really close to what I'm looking for.
I would also check out Hemispheres because that has a ton of stuff. I didn't know with Hemispheres on this, you can turn this into a quad MIDI to CV converter, because somebody was asking, like, they wanted to do something poly, and someone was like, oh, just run this on your ornament or crime, and I didn't, like, there's a lot of stuff in Hemispheres that I didn't know about. So it might have some clocking thing. I know they have logic in there, some type of sequence thing.
I need to give that a more proper look. The only problem though is I use the default firmware all the time. So the only time I can see myself using Hemispheres is if I got another ornament in crime.
Exactly.
I don't want to give what I have up. It's in every patch.
Yep.
It's either the quad sequence or the acid curls I've been using a lot of.
Yeah, the sequence, I thought the editing, I was like, I don't want to put in a sequence with those two knobs, but it's so easy. It's actually like really fast. It's just as good as almost any other sequencer.
Yeah.
And it does crazy stuff because you can have the two sequences kind of affect each other. Yeah. And that's when it gets kind of bananas.
And they have their own independent either clock or gate. So then you can get this weird shit between the two of them as they're affecting one another, and they're like not necessarily in time, or like the way that they're affecting each other is not in time. I'm glad I finally gave that a shot.
Speaking of sequencers, I could kick it off with the bad boy in front of me here. 512 Vector Sequencer, which I got yesterday in the mail. Much like the sequence, it has its own kind of independent clocking, so you can have different multipliers for each track, which is amazing.
It's not just division.
Not just division. You can have division and multiplication. The best thing...
I like that.
These two mod inputs right here, you can CV start position on a sequence. You can CV the length of a sequence. You can CV the multiplier. You can CV the rate that things start happening. Like, I don't even know all the things you can CV in here yet because I'm just like one day in. It was kind of the key thing that sold me over. I was like, oh, I want something where I can CV, the sequence, because nothing I have really does that. Mimetic Digitalis does it to a degree, and that's a nice thing. But this kind of blows it way out. You can, I think, even CV like the groove of the steps and like the micro positioning and stuff, which Elektron has never done that. It's always been, I've always wanted that feature.
That's why I like the Audio Damage Sequencer 1 for so long, because it had the CV outs that you could route back into itself and CV certain, functions. Love the that whole feature set of it. So other than that, it wasn't like a great sequencer, but I really dug that element of it.
I don't have the expander that comes with it. The expander is like 14 HP or something like that, and it's DIN MIDI in and out. Another set, because this is actually...
Does it give you more CV ins?
8th inch, or the or TRS MIDI out.
Yeah.
It gives you more trigger ins, more CV ins. You get like
Nice.
12 trigger ins and outs. And the cool thing is each one is an in or an out, depending upon how you have it configured. And those can affect other sequences. They can step through other sequences. Basically, everything with this, you've got to clock it from either USB or the run clock reset CV inputs. So the expander is the only way you get a MIDI input, which I thought these MIDI outs were also inputs, but they're not, which is fine. One of the cons, like I love this thing. I'm super invested in it, and I know he's going to nail it. But right now, I've run into like 3 straight up firmware crashes where it's like, boom, error message on the top of the screen. He's aware of some of them already. He seems super responsive on the board. But there's certain stuff like, if you're going into a part here, this is where you like mute and unmute stuff. Sorry, listeners, you can't really see this. That would be pretty cool. But if you hold down mute, it'll mute it and unmute the part. But if like a gate is on or off, sometimes it'll get stuck. And I've run into stuff where it's like, oh, this is just like nothing's playing. Like, it won't play anything. I thought it was broken. It's just like a known bug right now. So I have a MIDI box too and a pyramid. This doesn't invalidate any other sequencer I have. I still think the pyramid is kind of like my top of the heap. But the cool thing about this and the way it compares to the MIDI box is you have all these like presets up at the top that take you to the stuff that were kind of deeper in layers on the MIDI box. Like you've got pitch, you can select your pitches, you can hit shift and it moves it up by an octave, all that shit you would expect. Gate and groove, so you can change the gate time or tie them, or go into this other menu, move the steps back and forth, which is just right there. That's like a whole set of steps on other sequencers. Velocity, you just get like velocity curves, CCs for everything. It sends MIDI and CV in and out. You've got 3 sets of pitch, gate, and velocity. And that's cool because you can just use this as another modulator, kind of. This is the weird one. So length and repeat. So this is step length, right? Which is different than gate length. But if you make this to a 2, your sequence is now 17 steps long. It's going to chill on this for 2 steps, which is weird. Like, I still don't even know how I would use that in a piece of music yet.
That's the way like Metropolis is, where like you're adjusting the length of each step, not gate length, but like step repeat.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you could do some weird like, what was, I forget what the Metropolis was based off of, but the old Roland.
The Roland one.
Yeah. So I guess you could get some type of like weird stuff like that.
But I've never had a sequencer that does this, so I'm like, I need to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
Can you CV that parameter?
I think so. Still learning. It's actually like you can learn the basic functionality of the sequencer in like an hour. It's pretty easy. You're like, oh, hit chance. What's that do? Oh, you can set chance for all of these different layers here and pick the type of thing and say like, I want to set ratchet, 4 ratchet percentage on each step. Modulation. I think this is where it's at. You got subsequences. So each variable step sequence, which goes up to 64 steps, you get an 8-step fixed sequence that's always just running alongside of it at whatever rate you want to pick.
So wait, how do you specify what is it? Just repeating the same step, or like what do you?
Yeah, you can have it. You can modulate this, I believe, and say modulation external. Oh, here it is. I want to target gate lengths, start position, ratchet amounts, probability amount, start point length, direction of the sequence. It's fucking nuts. And then the amount for each one of these.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's got like here's where you set
it
like
looks
the
like
length.
candy.
It does. That's a nice thing. There, it's black and white LCD screen, like we were saying, it's the same as the ER301, but just not the colored lens on top.
I love how the modes that I'm watching you shift through are color coded.
Yeah, because
I do that a lot with gear. I color code shit. You know what I mean? That way
you
I can
can
just
set for each track what you want the background LED and the step. See, notice how this is kind of weird. Like, I think this is a bug where you can't change the background one, but it'll change depending on some of the settings. So I know he'll get that nailed down. But yeah, it's like the UI is straightforward. He spent a couple years now working on this thing, and I feel like he's fucking close. Like it's not like some far off thing. He's gonna nail it pretty soon.
So you've kind of gotten in bed with like another like other person's crazy life project.
Yes.
Like,
once again.
If any listeners have a crazy life project that they want someone to become heavily invested in, hit up Nick.
This is like, I'm kind of fucked up in the head and that I can't stop myself from doing this. There's another one. I'm going to get fucking model samples too, which I'll talk about. And I just saw someone today who was like, yeah, I can crash this thing. Fucking sequencer disease, man. But yeah, overall, like pitches are great. Like everything's been solid that works. I've had a few crashes, but I've also been getting like just sequences that I haven't gotten out of other gear. It's a joy to use, to be honest. You can do like, I don't, who knows where he's going to take it. You get a lot of reset options too. You can have it automatically reset at the end, like reset every 3 beats, every 4 beats. So
how many tracks in total is it there?
I think it is 8 tracks. Yeah, you get 8 parts.
And is each part color coded then?
You can change the color coding for each part.
Okay, I get it.
And then you get like presets for each part. So that's really your sequences are like a preset. So this part will be like, I'm going to always send out of MIDI channel 3 out of MIDI output 2 or something like that, or CV output, CV pair, this pair. And it'll just kind of hold that, and then you can change a preset, and that's just a different set of sequences and multipliers and all that fun shit.
How do you save and load in this?
Oh, good question. So one thing is you see that little disc there. It's always saving some things, I think, but if you hit shift and save, it's just save project. And at first I was like, what are all these little lines? Oh, they just correspond to these numbers, so you can edit them real quick. Hit save, and there's actually an SD card, another SD card in this system behind it that's saving everything. And this USB plug, you plug it in, and it's just like a disk drive on your computer, so you can back up everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And this is USB host, which actually I tried it yesterday. You can plug. I have that Akai LPK25. Plug it in, and you can fucking record right away. Which brings me to another one of the cons. So this doesn't do real time recording right now. Even though you think, what the fuck? It records from the MIDI inputs, but it's just like SH101 style, where it's like picking the notes and it's going to move you to the next note. So it's not like, I kind of need it to be real time eventually, because the pyramid, I'm used to like, I'm going to make this sequence, quantize it, and I'm fucking done. I don't have much mental time that I want to spend like doing step recording. It's not how I work. Unless I'm like doing a 101 style thing. So that's something that needs to be improved. I think I thought it had it built in. Oh, and you can also do this shit too. So down here you get shift and you can just generate a new sequence, or you can pick all these rules to evolve the existing sequence. And you see how it's just moving certain things. You can set the percentage that you want it to evolve a pattern and then dupe those out to other things, which is like super fucking exciting.
So wait, are you going through major and minor chords? Like how is it determining what the next note's going to be?
Good question. You can send chords out of this. There's a chord part, but I think if I can find it.
Looks like you've gotten pretty deep in a day, man.
Yeah,
you're bouncing around it like no problem.
I've been spending some time on it for sure. But what the fuck is that? But yeah, you can set the amount that you want it to evolve and certain rules that you want it to like kind of obey. Yeah, there's all these shift functions. Like you can really quickly to just like shift a sequence back and forth in time, which is nice.
Yeah.
The ratcheting shit's really cool. That's fun. You could just get like ratchet number per step. But yeah, it's like, I'm super impressed. Even with some crashes, like normally I would probably sell like something that crashes now unless someone was like, yeah, this is really beta, but I'll persist with this until he gets it working. I'm sold.
We met him at NAMMCon.
Yeah, Jim Coker.
Yeah.
Real cool dude.
Yeah.
He gave me a great demo of it at NAMMCon, and that's part of what kind of sold me on it. And eventually this will load numerology sequences. Jim, he makes numerology, the software too. So shit, if that eventually happens, I have a Mac now. I never used to have a Mac, so I would try numerology. Hell, I don't know.
looks like all the best features of some of my favorite Euro sequencers all packed into one with more tracks and more functionality, you know?
Totally. And I think he nailed it from that perspective, because I know I've been on his website and forum now a good bit, and you can see 2 years ago, someone was like, oh, check out the pyramid. And he was like, so these are the features you want, huh? And they're like, all in here.
Nice. I never expected to see like a Eurorack sequencer become as powerful as like an external one, you know what I mean? Or be like the heart of any setup. Like they always just seem like they're designed to be auxiliary sequencers, you know what I mean? Or to just handle one part in your setup, but this thing looks like it can handle a lot.
I'm thinking, and I think with the expander and this, I think it might fit in the biggest 4MS pod.
It's not too deep for the 4MS pods? Because they're pretty shallow,
it's
right?
really flat.
Okay.
It's like one board behind it. I don't know. And he has such experience. Like he's been working on numerology for like 20 years now. Like I don't have any doubt that he's going to finish this out.
Does he have any help, or is it just all him?
Good question. I don't know. He's the one who really responds to everything, but he kind of refers to like the team, the 512 team.
All right.
So I know he's like building these himself. I don't think it's not like pick and pluck. I will have yours ready in the beginning of February, like 2 months ago. And like this, that Monday, the first week of February, he's like, I'm going to ship this and you'll have it Wednesday.
I don't know though. I mean, we're all three of us are cat people, and we probably have referred to sitting upstairs with the cats as the team. So it is possible it's just him.
So yeah, Vector Sequencer. Definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
Super into it.
I'm also wondering how many people, this might be the first time they're even hearing about it, because this does kind of seem like it's under the radar.
Yeah, there may be like 20 of these out right now, I think.
Are they like available now, or the ones that are out in the wild now, have they been on like pre-order forever and they're just doing them in small batches?
It's been low key. Like you got to email him and then he'll say, oh, you want one? Like pay right now. And then I'll give you your date. And that's how it worked. I'm like, send him the money. And he said, all right, you're top of February. Because I waited for a little. I was like on the fence and then I saw some video. I'm like, fuck it, I'm doing it.
That's how that Tachyons thing I got was. I emailed him. He's like, there's 4 or 5 people in front of you. You're on the list. You're after that. And it'll be, I'm not going to give you a date. Like it was that level of just like, we'll get to it, dude. I was like, that's cool. I can get behind that.
Unless somebody else wants to go, I'll start it off with this.
Yeah, go for it.
Tribute to Model Samples, the new Elektron device. I have high hopes in some ways because I think it might be like just all the shit I want from an Elektron device pulled out into no menu screen. I like the rhythm a lot. I find that I don't use the scene functionality or the performance pads as much as I used to. Maybe that's just a habit that I've got to break. So that may be the case, but Model Samples is more expensive than it should be for sure. I think it's like $410 or something like that retail.
Something like that, I think.
So it's comparing with the new Electribes, I feel like those new Electribes, which can do more on the surface, but I almost hope that Elektron starts to make some more devices that are not neutered and stripped down, but are a little flatter and not as much like hierarchy and depth for certain things, because I've seen some videos of people using it, and what kind of sold me was how fast you can change like start and end points on a sample, or like radically change the sound without having to like page over and be like, oh, I'm going to go to the effects now. And it seems like the new, like the control all functionality that used to be on the machine drum, like hold down one knob and affect everything. Now it's like, oh, that makes perfect sense on this setup. Like I'm going to filter all the drums down, or I'm going to pitch everything on here down, or change like the end point so that everything gets really short. And I can kind of get down with that. And it's also got, I don't know if I'll explain this well. So on the rhythm, you have start and then length as your second parameter on a sample, which is different than start and end point. There are certain effects, like the Digitact does start and end point. So if you want to do that kind of like, I like those IDM-y, like repeat a note really quick and then change the length so it kind of stretches out. On the rhythm, it doesn't quite hit the end of the sample quite the same way. And on the Digitact and on apparently the Model Samples, it just kind of does it the way it does, I think, in like simpler in Ableton, which is like where I've used that trick a lot. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I hope that it's something that they just kind of fucking nail and they don't have to update it. But then yesterday it was like some dude working through it, and he just hit like the play button again, and the whole thing just locked up, and you couldn't even hit the power button and turn it down.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always scary to see.
Yeah.
Granted, nobody has it yet. The only people that have it are just beta testers right now. But I'm hopeful for it. I hope that I like it enough that it's like, oh no, I want to keep using this thing. So we'll see. I'm going to give it a shot because I'm super intrigued by the simplicity of it. And it's like the stuff from them that I like. It could be a total lemon though.
When I saw the feature set, I want to like it,
Yeah.
but it's from Elektron. So I'm kind of like, I don't want to like it. I know it's going to be, expensive and probably limited, in the ways where I don't want it to be limited, and then like overly complicated where I don't need it to be and shit. Like that's just my Elektron experience with everything aside from the fucking machine drum. So I don't know.
It does look like though that there's
A little
nothing complicated about this.
Yeah.
The screen's even been simplified. Like there's like two arguments and some text. I mean, even the Digitac still has a learning curve to get into like the Elektron way of doing things, where this is a big step away from, again, like the Elektron way of doing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be like, I've seen people say like, oh, if you know an Elektron piece of gear, this is going to be like a half hour and you're good kind of thing. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a couple videos. It did remind me a bit of like the machine drum more so than the Digitac did. And so like, I guess if this format is successful, we could probably see a future drum machine coming, I would assume.
I would hope.
Yeah.
Well, it might have been you who said the idea that this might just be the first of a new model series.
Right.
I would think so if they're going to use the colon and everything. It's weird unless you're going to make Model FM next or something.
Which, I mean, that is the pattern.
But they did just make the Digitone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they just made the Digitex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is just like a more flat, laid out version of that,
And that's what's pissing people off because there's still like Digitac issues that are being worked on. Overbridge has been worked on for 2.5 years now, if not 4 or 5. So people are like, oh, you're going to work on a new product? It's,
The thing that kind of annoyed me right off the bat was I saw that they implemented track multiplication.
Yes, they did.
And that's still not in the Digitac.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Only the Octatrack and the model samples can do it.
Yeah.
And they're frustrating in that way. Like, and this one has velocity sensitive pads, but none of the, they're always like mixing features around, and it's kind of frustrating. It's like, haven't you learned? Like, don't you just want to nail it? Even the Digitac was a step back, and now the model samples is like a step back from that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Strange.
Yeah. You need better programmers? I mean,
it doesn't seem like, it's a programming issue because they solve it on one machine. I refuse to believe that that can't, those algorithms, those ideas can't be ported then to other things. And I'm not going to be convinced that it isn't anything other than a conscious decision not to share this functionality across the things.
I'd have to agree.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the space in there, right? Yeah. Like they could have designed it in.
Yeah.
It's not impossible.
If they made one of those as like a little mini mono machine, I would probably jump on it more so.
That would be cool.
Than any other,
Well, maybe that's the next one.
That'd be sweet. People have been asking for it forever. I was tempted by the Digitone. I was like, well, this could kind of be like a part of a mono machine. But then I was like, I don't know.
I see people loving that thing. I've seen so much praise for that thing. Almost so much that it's like, oh, I'm never going to touch this thing because everybody's on that shit.
Yeah.
But not that there's sounds in there, of course. Generally, my experience with FM programming is like you're 90% garbage most of the time, and then you hit the 10%, and you're like, oh, okay.
And then you're always on the cusp of calamity.
Yeah,
that's what's really exciting to me about FM and working with it. I feel like maybe they've come up with something where those mistakes are either impossible or less likely, and a lot of people are gravitating towards it because it may have a lot or no sort of like bad FM scenarios.
If it had more tracks and a more functional sequencer, I would grab a Digitone in a second just as an FM drum machine. You know what I mean? Like that was some of my favorite machines in machine drum was the FM
no
parts, and
FM
same with mono machine. Yeah. And there really isn't a real good FM drum box out there right now, or a groove box, I should say. You know what I mean? There's
DX200.
and there's the Nords. So I feel like they could have nailed that niche market, but I don't know. It's just not there,
Maybe that's the next model would be model like FM drums or something. I could see that.
I'd be into it. maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
More so than the sample. I just feel like there's so much competition right now for little sampling devices and even big sampling devices where I don't really see what need this thing is filling exactly. But I don't know. I saw a lot of people complaining on Muff and also in Gear Slits about the model samples not being able to actually sample. You actually can't record into it at all, which is kind of strange. But
I'm going to put it out there. I don't think that would be a deal breaker for me. I honestly don't sample into my Digitech all that often.
Yeah.
What I do is I will record a lot of stuff into into a DAW and then chop that up and then just load it onto the Digitech.
Sure.
The actual real-time sampling, I've done it, but it's a lot easier to just do it on. Yeah, it's so much easier to do it in a DAW and just boom, just throw it on there. And if that helped them cut some cost in hardware, I don't think that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that out there. People are probably a little bit more okay with loading samples on than recording.
Yeah.
That's my speculation based on my own preference, but I see where you're going with that, Greg.
Yep.
And I respectfully disagree.
I just wanted another reason to complain.
So you didn't see the Schwayman quad attenuator that was on Reverb, right? Quad attenuator from Schwayman. Active attenuators with bias switches for $2,500.
Holy shit.
Like rare, labeled like rare. You're never gonna. This is the same dude
It's a
who
fucking
like.
attenuator.
Yeah, if I would have kept the VCO2RM, that goes for like $1,500.
If I would have kept my MF2, dude.
Yeah.
I saw that's going for like over $2,000 now. I was like, wow.
I forgot you had that.
For a brief time, yeah. I liked it, but then I decided like I liked the MF6 better, so I like downgraded. It was smaller, cheaper. It just wasn't stereo, but it did the job. It had great sound, but that new filter they showed off. Actually, is it even a filter? It's just like a saturation.
Oh, they have the new like mini synth.
No.
Voice.
This is something new. It was announced around NAMM. I don't know if it was announced at NAMM, but it's like a shit. I wish I could pull it up. I don't even know what to search for. But it's essentially like a multi-saturation circuit. It's based off of the saturations from MF6 module and stuff.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
they have like
an amp
quad multi-brand compressor and shit.
I think this is a quad as well. It's like a quad saturation thing. And it's like
it might be the big ass filter. Like it's like four MMF6s basically.
Yeah.
It's what Blawan uses it all the time, and like Surgeon's Lab set had that thing in there. He's like, yeah, I filter everything with this.
I would love to have one.
It's like unobtainium. But
this was like a newer version of it. Like it's I think something that's like coming out.
Yeah, they've got a bunch of new stuff. Like new the bass drum BLD. They've got a second version of that.
Saw that too.
That's coming out. A few other things. They've been busy for sure, but it's just really hard to get it because they make it all by hand. They're like, we have no interest in doing like mass scale production.
Right. Anytime I see anything Schwayman now, I just glance at it. You know, I don't want the temptation. You know, and I'm just like, oh yeah. I'll just scan the features and be like, yep, I could use that, but I ain't gonna look at it any further. So it's slightly off topic, but not quite, I guess.
Yeah.
Autiker.
Yeah.
Releasing those live sets.
A slew of them.
Yeah.
Like 19 different live sets on their website.
And truly different. Like they do like there's a wide variety of stuff.
I've gotten through 4 of the tracks so far. Yeah, every track has like enough variation to warrant like listening to. I guess it's not like 19 different, versions of the same set basically.
Yeah.
My favorite so far is the Miami set. I feel like that was a really rock solid set from start to finish.
I don't have a lot of comment, mostly because I think everything they do is amazing. So there's zero surprise. It met my expectations, and it's amazing.
See, I'm not like a huge fanboy of them. Like some of their stuff I absolutely love, and I have since the 90s. And then there's other stuff which is just completely like passable for me.
Yeah,
like over the years. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Like what would be an example of something that didn't hit you?
Honestly, the stuff that is more structured, I like less. I like it when they get really experimental sounding, you know, when they get abstract. The stuff that sounds, and I know it's not truly generative because I've read, you know, the interviews and all that, but the stuff that has that generative feel to it is always more interesting to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I get in a certain mode and I want to hear that type of stuff. The stuff that is more like beat oriented, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of boring for them because there's not enough elements to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain.
Totally understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my take on it. And I feel like these live sets are some of it's like a condensed version of the stuff that I do really enjoy from them. You know what I mean? Like it's just a solid set from start to finish. I feel like it translates better to my ears more so than some of their albums. You know what I mean? Like it's top notch.
Yeah,
in
I
my
think
opinion.
the live sets I've seen from them and heard, like it forces them to be a certain type of way that I think works well for what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff, like my complaints are generally like, oh, I feel just nothing from this, nothing at all. And it's like, I hear what you're doing. I have no idea why I'd listen to this again. After I listen to it, I can't even like remember anything. And some of their stuff, it's like, oh no, that'll stick with me. I can even remember certain parts of the live sets where it's like, fuck, that was it. So that's my, like, sometimes I just feel like I'm not feeling a thing from it. And it's not like, I'm sure that they are. It's just me reacting to it. So
I feel you. And you've seen them live in person, right?
yeah, twice.
Nice.
First on the Elektron tour, which was great. And then in DC when they were right after 2 albums ago, when they were like Max MSP live set. And that was total head fuck. Especially because they do like mandate, like turn off all the lights. And it's like, it was super disorienting in this beautiful way because the time was just being dissolved pretty well.
Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah,
No,
worth
man.
mentioning.
Yeah.
I got to dig into those. I haven't really yet, aside from just some cursory scans.
NAMM 2019.
Yes.
That's coming up. I mean, notes are good, but I think one thing stands out above everything else that we don't need notes for. It's in our heads, right? Everyone's excited about it. MIDI 2.0.
It is thrilling. I don't even know any of the differences.
30
it's not
years
serial.
of anticipation and hype.
It's more than 30, isn't it?
Probably.
It's probably getting like,
I think MIDI's as old as me.
I was going to say, it's probably getting close to my age. Yeah.
Yeah, I did take a couple notes of the differences. It was really hard to decipher the differences reading like the press release, but
I just love the idea of the press release.
It was ridiculous. But
Like eating through that without cracking up.
oh man, I saw footage of like some of the people like chatting about it in a conference, and like people were just losing their shit about it. Like these like engineer dudes sitting in front, like, you know, mouths open wide, like wow, you know,
Like crying like they're watching the Beatles.
yeah, dude. I was like, some people are really excited about this, but
Holy shit. I kind of want to talk to someone who's excited about this.
couple things worth mentioning. It's fully backward compatible. It's 32-bit with 16-bit velocity compared to MIDI 1.0, which was 7-bit with some stuff that was 14-bit, I think.
Yeah, the
mod wheel or something. Yeah. And 16 groups of 16 channels.
I hope it's parallel processing and not like everything's serial in current MIDI. Is not a great choice.
Yeah. Not sure.
I didn't really have my head around MPE until just recently. You know, the MPE multi-polyphonic expression or whatever. So you know the Microfreak, the controller, like
yes.
And that, and you know the Rolly C shit, whatever it is, the stuff that looks like a fucking Geiger-esque like keyboard that's all black latex or whatever.
Black bumpy thing.
Yeah. So apparently you get like a control message for each note. So it means that the synthesizer can react to a CC or a control message for every single note you play. I don't know what I would do with that, but I can see like, oh cool, you get like expression, or like you can change each note's like LFO. Okay. But I don't like, I still haven't seen that. That's gonna do something. Yeah.
Well, there's been like alternatives to MIDI all over the place. I mean, it's been like
OSC.
a recurrent. Yeah, OSC was the one I was thinking of. But there was other ones that are just like, no matter how much they add to it, the fact that so much fucking gear is MIDI compatible and is waiting for MIDI signals, everyone's still going to be confined to MIDI because so much shit has it. It seems like a huge fucking waste of time. That is literally polishing a chart.
Because we've been working around this shit for 30 years already. Like this thing has 2 MIDI outs just because, like, and it solves the problem. All my sequencers have like multiple MIDI outs because it can handle that shit.
I think a lot of it too, it isn't just within gear, but within like computers. You know what I mean? Like a lot of
in video shit.
OSs are considering MIDI like completely obsolete at this point and won't include it. So it's like we need a modernized standard.
I guess that makes
in that
sense.
regard, yeah.
Something that's not shit that can still handle your gear, so
Sure.
the future doesn't leave it behind.
I don't know. I'm refusing to take this seriously.
USB MIDI is like the shittiest thing in the
It's so
fucking
bad.
world.
It's
like,
pretty bad, yeah.
It's a bad spec on top of another shittier spec.
Yeah.
Like, and they're all different.
And as far as like gear that has both, invariably that's what fucks up.
Yeah.
is the
I never
USB.
use it. I never
No.
use it. Updating my Erica drum sequencer a couple weeks ago via MIDI was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
A lot of fun. It's like,
Wait, over MIDI?
yeah. And you have to turn the buffer rate way the hell down in the software.
So how long did it take?
It took I don't even know, like 30 minutes, and it failed, so I had to do it again. And then it took and it bricked it, because apparently if one thing goes wrong, it just shits itself. Like there was a lot of people reporting the same problem on the forum, so I'm glad to know I wasn't alone, because I thought I did something wrong or something, but no, it's flaky. And if it takes the update, you have to wait. You can't like stop it in the middle of it. You have to wait for it to complete.
Yeah.
And then you can't do anything with the sequencer other than tell it to update again. Like that's it. You just gotta hit the key combo and it'll go back into like waiting for SysEx dump mode, and you try again and you wait 30 minutes and hope that it works. So yeah, it took me about 2 hours from start to finish to get the damn thing updated. But I didn't know that going into it here. I thought there was a USB port like in the back of the module or something. I was like, surely I'll just plug this in.
Yeah.
Nope. Got to use the MIDI all the way. I was like, okay.
It's another beautiful thing about the 301 is that you just put a zip file on the fucking SD card. You don't even need to expand it. It's going to deal with the zip file.
Yeah.
It'll like let you choose which version. You can reboot it. Right
The
there.
Sequencer 1 was the same deal. Like,
Yeah.
it was a SD card. You just dropped the firmware into it, put the card back in the module, boot it up. It would see it, load it, boom, like done.
Or you could put an entire MIDI stack on your device just to accept updates.
I'm all about that mutable audio update.
Yeah.
That's
That's
fun.
fucking sweet.
I like
yeah.
that. It's some weird black magic that I don't
Yeah.
understand. I just like doing it. And it always says, make sure you don't listen to it on speakers because it'll blow your shit out. But of course, I listen to it every time. I'm like,
Same here.
it's like listening to a modem.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
you just hear data. It's like, wow.
And it didn't even take that long to dial it in, because they're like, it's going to take you a minute to like get the right levels of the output to make sure that it's reading it correctly. And I'm like, oh god, it's going to be a nightmare. Second try, third try, it was super fucking easy. Like everything should fucking move to this.
That reminds me of something. I just popped back in my head. Did you guys watch Bandersnatch?
No.
No, not yet.
All right, then I can't talk about it, I guess.
Also, our listeners might have not watched it yet either.
Well, this isn't...
We could ruin it for them.
I don't
Yeah,
want
just
to...
fine.
This isn't like a spoiler,
But the ending is
but it does happen at the end of one of the endings.
This sounds like a spoiler.
There's an audio sound that goes on for several seconds that is like an update sound. And I don't know how you would record it or what it's supposed to be, but I think it's a game that you can fucking like download through sound.
Oh,
Yeah.
because there was
And I haven't looked into it yet, but I was like, I heard it. Like it was like at the end credits and shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I know what that sound is. Like, what the hell? What is this? And like
Yeah,
I meant to
yeah.
look into it and I haven't. But
because people have done that before, like the 8-bit construction set, the B side of that or the A side or that was a Commodore program encoded.
okay,
And
so I'm on the right
forgot
track
about
and
that.
assuming it's
Yeah.
like a Commodore game then or something.
It could be, yeah,
be.
because they used audio tape
Yeah.
as one of the drive formats.
That's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, one of the endings apparently has some sort of Easter egg embedded in the audio, and I just haven't had a chance to look into it, but I got pretty excited when I heard it.
I mean, there's no chance that there's like a Reddit forum about this. No one's talking about it at all.
Well, that's the thing. I'm sure somebody
Yeah,
has
yeah,
already
it's definitely been-
found it before me, but
Yeah.
I just haven't had a chance to dig into it. But I just thought that was nifty.
Oh wait, so do we want to talk more about NAMM?
Yeah, and you briefly mentioned the Microfreak. Do we want to tap into that?
I mean, do we want to go hard? And I mean, I don't know if I'm going to have super positive things to say.
Let's tackle it this way. There were 2 synthesizers that both have mutable oscillator code in them that were at NAMM.
Yes.
True.
Both relatively interesting and both approached that in very different ways.
Yes.
Which is part of the controversy with the Microfreak, is they said it was a collaboration, and that kind of pissed Olivier off. Is their name still?
Emily now.
Emily. That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. That pissed Emily off. Which I understand, because that wasn't how it went down. And they called them and apparently apologized. And now everything's cool. But
Okay, so if Emily had not made a stink about this, or had brought it up, or pushed back on it, they were willing to go out there and basically lie or exaggerate.
Yeah.
And only after called out did they rescind or make an apology, or basically anything other than continue with this claim. That's a bad look. It shouldn't have had to come to the point where Emily had to say, "You're lying. This isn't what actually happened."
yeah, that's shady market. That's like marketing that pisses everybody off right there.
Yes.
It's like, oh, you went over the top. Just been real about it. Say like, we use some of the oscillator code from Plaits. Fucking done deal.
Yeah. She didn't even make a stink about it, really. Like, people were asking her, you know what I mean? Like, publicly on...
Okay, that's maybe strong then, yeah.
Yeah, she just said they had, like, zero contact with me. Or she said, like, I had zero input on this device. You know what I mean? Like, so they didn't even reach out to her, in any regard. They just took her code and said it's a collaboration.
That is
with
not what a
Mutable
collaboration is.
Instruments.
Yeah, like I don't.
Or I'm sorry, they called them a partner. They said our partner Mutable Instruments. Yeah,
because they invited her there or something, and they were like trying to pump her for info, and it was not a collaboration, and it was more like, oh, we're gonna do this thing, and she was like, okay, you're following the license. As long as you follow the fucking license, then anybody can. Cool. But they were trying to. It seemed like they were trying to pump her for like, oh, so what's your next shit?
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Can we get more code for free?
Yeah,
please. Yeah, there's more mutable models in this thing than there are anything else. Like, it's essentially a plates in a box, with a controller. Like, it has currently 11 oscillator models, 4 of which are Arturia engines. That's all it says. And then 7 modes from mutable. It's like, so it's a little bit imbalanced. You know what I mean? Like,
because that's what the Korg Minilog XD, which also came out. So the Korg Prolog, which is their big polyphonic analog synth, has like you can update digital oscillator models that you code yourself, whatever. So they ported that same functionality over to the Minilog XD, and then that weekend, some guy like knocked out the Braids code and like, oh, here you go, like you can upload it now. And that's cool. They didn't really pimp that. They just have like an open source platform that you can update effects and oscillators. And yes, you can update Plaits or other stuff in there. So obviously they didn't try to promote it outside of just having the platform, which is kind of a lot cooler. Also, I want that. Because I got the monologue, and while it's sweet, it has increased my lust for the Minilog XD quite a bit. But I'm just holding on to the monologue right now, which is still awesome, and I really like it.
But that does seem like a better approach, a better way to handle the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Arturia changed their wording on the website now. It says our friends at Mutable Instruments. And the only place it mentions it is when it talks about the oscillator modes. I'm like, okay. It's a fucking shame is what it is, because I really like this box. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as I saw it, I got hyped as hell. And before like this controversy left a bad taste in my mouth, like it's an incredible little machine, in my opinion. They just need to like get their shit together.
The engineering's solid. I think the marketing just ruined it though.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Someone's going to get one eventually.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people buy it not knowing anything about that controversy either. Yep. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that probably will be buying this have no clue who Mutable is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
it's like $300 or something.
It's $299.
That's ridiculous.
God, I wish I wanted that. I wish I could.
It's worth it for the controller and the sequencer alone.
Yeah.
Never mind the fact that you have like half a plates in there and some inspired multi-mode filter, analog filter. Got the whole matrix mod, you got LFOs. It's like, and like, I don't know, part of the micro brute and the mini brute that sucked was the crappy keyboard, and now they fixed that as well. It's like, you got the sequencer, you got the ARP, you got the touch plate, velocity sensitive, controller. It's got it all pretty much.
And you can just paint all those goofy fucking graphics.
I would tape right over that.
Yeah, no, that's
a big strip of electric tape, dude. Right over that crap. I don't even know what it's supposed to be. We were talking about that before we started recording. It looks like vegetables, and then like the random knob or the random button, I should say, is a hot pepper.
Oh my god!
It's got spice and dice on the sequencer for generative functionality, and it's a pair of dice and a hot pepper.